If you do this, I guarantee you your book is gonna get done. In 2022, I am taking on the ambitious goal of writing and publishing 2 books. One of those books I started writing in 2021, but the other one I am planning to start writing in around March and actually hit the publish button in September. This is really big for me. I've never done this in such a short time frame before, and so in order to accomplish that, I needed to create some deadlines for myself, create some rules, and stick to some really important habits. So today, in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you all of the things that I'm going to be doing this year to get that book written, and the hope that it will also help you finish the writing project that you're working on. These are my 7 tips for getting that book written in 2022, and you are going to walk away from this video with actionable strategies that you can employ in order to type the end on the book you're working on this year. Before we get into the content, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. My name is Claire Fraze, and I'm an award-winning young adult author who makes videos on this channel sharing the actionable writing advice that helped me improve as a writer. I'd also like to preface this video, as I do all of my writing advice videos, with the caveat that this is only what works for me. Every single writer is really different, and what works for them is really different. So all I can do to help you is by sharing what worked for me in the hopes that it will also work for you. But the only way that you're going to figure out what works for you is by hearing a bunch of different advice and experimenting with it and seeing if it does help you. This isn't me telling you what you have to do. This is only telling you what I did that worked for me. Take as much of it as you want, take as little of it as you want. You do you. So now that's out of the way, let's get into the tips. My first tip for getting that book written in 2022 is to take it seriously. This means deciding that you want to write a book and following through with it. This looks like sitting your butt in the chair even on days that you don't want to. This means making sacrifices for writing and not doing all of the fun social things that you might want to do in order to stick to your writing goals for the day. How many sacrifices you make completely depends on how you want writing to fit into your life, but if you are serious about finishing that goal in 2022, you need to treat it like it is a serious goal. Which leads me to my second tip, which is set achievable goals. Set goals that you are able to cross off your list every day. Set achievable goals that you are actually able to accomplish, not vague goals that feel very distant. Break down the big goal of writing a book into smaller deadlines. Set a deadline for draft 1, set a deadline for draft 2, and then take it a step further and figure out how many words you need to write per day or per week in order to get that book done by your deadline. Crossing goals off your list is such a satisfying feeling, and it makes you feel like you're getting closer to your goal if you're actually able to see yourself achieving things. I like to set accountability deadlines for myself. Accountability deadlines are deadlines that I have with my editor or with my cover designer or with my beta readers, where someone else is expecting the book from me on a certain date and I have to deliver them a book, or else they'll be disappointed. Or I'll look flaky, and I don't want to look flaky. Once I set accountability deadlines, it's so much harder for me to just not do something because I'm not feeling like it, or push off deadlines because I'm the only one relying on the deadline. If someone else is holding me accountable, then I really am extra motivated to get my words written or get my chapters edited or whatever I have to do in order to meet that goal. But make sure when you're setting these, you're being kind to yourself. Don't set a really, really ambitious goal if you don't have the systems and the practice in place to be able to achieve that. Set accountability deadlines for times that you know that you'll be able to meet them if you are actually consistently writing and on top of your schedule. My third tip is to experiment with different writing strategies. As a writer, you hear a lot of advice on YouTube from teachers, from other writers, and because every writer is so different, a lot of the times the advice that you hear isn't necessarily going to work for you. It's not going to work for the kind of book that you're writing or the kind of brain that you have or the style that you like to write in. So you need to be willing to experiment and try out all these different things that you're hearing in order to figure out what works best for your process. There is not one way to write. There are many, many ways to write. For example, if you don't know if you're a plotter or a pantser, Try outlining a book and see how it feels. Does having an outline comfort you, or does it take away your joy of discovering how your story is going to unravel? If you do like outlining, do you like having a more vague outline, which does allow you some more time to explore? Or do you like having a very, very detailed outline where you know what's going to happen in every single scene? Experiment with writing sprints. Is there a sprint length that works best for your brain? Is there a length at which you start losing focus or motivation to finish your sprint? Try writing in the morning and then try writing at night. Is there a time of day that works best for you? Do you write best when you're at coffee shops or at home? Where at home? If you don't already know the answers to all of these questions, try a bunch of different things out and start putting together a process that allows you to write most efficiently. I'm a huge plotter, and what works best for me is writing first thing in the morning, getting up early, writing in sprints that are about 25 to 30 minutes long with short breaks in between, working for about an hour and a half and then getting up and walking around and then starting work again. I also really love daily word count goals, and I love outlining in plot grids and having every single plot and subplot all mapped out for the rest of my book. It doesn't kill my joy. What kills my joy is feeling like I'm fumbling around in the dark in the middle of a book, and it makes me lose motivation to finish that book because I just feel like it's all trash and everything's trash and nothing in my brain makes sense. But the only way I found out about this is by experimenting a lot. So that's what I recommend that you do if you don't know your answers to these questions. My fourth tip is to rest between drafts. This is huge. I didn't realize how important this was to my writing process until actually just this year. The simple act of taking breaks between drafts allows me the space to be able to think about my story without the pressure of meeting a goal. Just like think about the parts of my story that I love, think about the parts of my story that could be improved, and just let my creativity run wild without the constant pressure of finishing it by a deadline. I advocate for around 2 to 3 weeks off to really give yourself space, because often, I also go through love-hate cycles with my books. So in the first draft, I love it. In the second draft, I hate it because I feel like everything's trash. And by the end of the second draft, I get really, really overwhelmed by I think it's awful. I think it's terrible. Gross. I hate it. I'm starting to feel really down on myself, not only just my book. So I take a little bit of time and think about the book and digest what isn't working for me in the second draft without the crushing pressure of having to make the book better. And then when I go into draft 3, I've kind of isolated all these different things that I do really love about the book, and I'm able to bring those out more and get rid of the stuff that wasn't working. If I was constantly in the state of panic in my brain, I wouldn't be able to think about it creatively. I would just have to think about it pragmatically, which I think will hurt my story. So taking time to rest, to think, to brainstorm, to go for walks outside really, really helps make your drafts better. Also, take care of your mind and your body. Make sure that you as a human are in balance. That is something that I'm really purposefully thinking about in 2022. Balance is my word of the year. I want to make sure that I am not doing my art at the expense of my health, because in order to show up for my art, I need to be a whole and healthy, happy person. So this looks like doing things like working out and seeing loved ones and moving your body and eating healthy and cooking nice meals and seeing your friends and making sure that your soul is in balance and healthy. Because when I'm stretched thin and not moving my body enough and not eating right, my brain suffers and my mental health suffers, which makes the act of writing my book way harder. Last year, I would always really worry about taking the time out of my day to go work out or something, because it would take away from my writing time. And if I was on a deadline, I was really pressed for writing time. But I would be amazed by how much easier it would be for me to think and to write when I returned to the computer after going outside and moving my body. My fifth tip is don't stress over draft 1. I like to think of my draft 1s as being controlled by the pleasure center in my brain. That is what is running the show. That is what is having me spitball all of these different random things that I like onto the page, even if I don't think that they're gonna work. Some writers work really well editing as they go, and if this is you, more power to you. I honestly admire you because your first drafts are cleaner than mine, but I'm not one of these writers, and I like to give myself that protective space to just kind of let my thoughts go crazy and to just have some really out there things happen in my book, and then I can dial it back in draft 2. I also really only focus on word count when I'm writing draft 1. I just think about getting the words on the page, getting the story on the page, getting something that resembles an arc on the page, because I know that I can fix it later. But if this stresses you out, by all means, keep editing as you go. This is just my piece of advice because it honestly speeds up my process so much. My 6th tip is to read a lot. I stay inspired by reading a lot. I'm notoriously terrible at getting myself to read because I always prioritize writing over reading when I'm stressed for time. But I find that when I'm reading and I'm able to like see what other people are doing with their stories, I'm able to fall in love with writing all over again. It just gets me so inspired with different like little ideas and things that I can do with my characters and in my world. So yeah, that is something that really helps keep me moving. If you're struggling to find motivation, I highly recommend starting to read in your genre or even outside of your genre. There's a lot that you can learn by reading outside of your genre and different things from other genres you can bring into whatever you're writing. But, you know, if you have to choose one, I would say maybe start reading in your genre to like get inspired and see the kinds of stories that you really, really love writing in action. And finally, my last piece of advice for getting your book written in 2022 is to just do it. Because at the end of the day, you just have to do it. You have to sit your butt down in the chair and you have to do it. Decide that you want to and commit. Not lazily commit, but actually commit. At the end of the day, it's up to you whether you want this to happen or not. And if you show up to your routine, and if you are persistent, and if you keep writing, then eventually your book is gonna get done. If you do this, I guarantee you your book is gonna get done. Unfortunately, there is no magic word or magic spell or magic piece of advice I could give you to make it easier, because even if you employ all of these other systems, at the end of the day, you have to show up and you have to do it and you have to really want it. And please be kind to yourself. This does not mean show up or commit to the expense of your mental health or your physical health. This means show up and commit to the best of your ability, and eventually your book is going to get done. Even if it doesn't get done in 2022, you are still going to have a book at some point. Just, keep your promises to yourself, and please take care of yourself this year and don't hurt yourself at the expense of your writing goals. And I believe in you. You can do it. If I can do it, you can definitely do it. And we'll do it together this year. I will make some videos updating you on my progress with this book, and we're going to see if it actually happens. I don't know if I'm going to be able to write and publish a book within a 6-month time frame. I've never done it before, but I promise I will keep you updated. So if you are not currently subscribed, make sure to subscribe to this channel so that you can get all of the latest news and see if I can actually meet this goal that I've put forth for myself. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like it and comment down below. What is the book about that you're going to be writing this year? I'd love to hear about it. I love hearing people talk about their stories. It's one of my favorite things in the world. I hope you have a wonderful week, everyone. And as always, happy writing.